In the heavens above, the battle between the mightiest forces of both sides raged on with unstoppable fury. Luigi, the formidable swordsman, stood suspended in midair, his robes billowing in the wind. Sword chi surged around him, weaving a tapestry of countless streaks of colorful swordlight that formed a swirling pond of power. Directly across from him, Yunni's vast snow lotus blossoms bloomed in pristine white light, their fragrance permeating the air as the floral sea clashed against the tempest of sword chi. Their energy rippled through the surroundings, creating a dangerous but mesmerizing spectacle. The two combatants were not just exchanging blows in a grand display of power, but also burning through their immortal spiritual energy. If either were to falter in their reserve, the other's attack would undoubtedly overwhelm them. Luigi's voice rang out coldly, offering Yunni a chance to surrender. Why fight for the holy puppet sect? Join us, and you'll be compensated handsomely. But Yunni, ever playful in appearance, replied with a coy giggle, why settle for compensation when you can come into my snow lotus and we could indulge together? Afterward, I'll happily fight by your side. Beneath her playful demeanor, she weighed the stakes. Her powers matched Luigi's, but the outcome remained uncertain. Luigi's patience wore thin. With a contemptuous grunt, he sealed his fate with a peculiar hand gesture, summoning a draconic roar from his sword as it churned into a rainbow worm. The worm lunged at Yunni with terrifying force. In response, Yunni summoned the snow lotus petals to form a barrier, a clash of sword and flower that sent shockwaves through the air. Meanwhile, far away, Shui Han, the scarred man, unleashed a torrent of yellow light from his sleeves, sending halos hurtling toward a gray-robed Taoist priest puppet. The puppet deftly parried with its horsetail whisk, and from its waist came a swelling silver gourd. When the gourd was uncorked, silver lightning shot toward Shui Han, illuminating the sky in a blinding flash. As Bai Fengyi, rushing in with twin blue light barriers, attempted to halt Shui Han, he effortlessly deflected the oncoming attacks with a yellow bead, revealing his overwhelming power. Shui Han, knowing that the battle was not yet over, mocked his adversaries. As he summoned a mysterious linen pouch inscribed with an ancient symbol, it swelled with ominous energy. With a chant, the pouch unleashed a torrent of azure beams, each rapidly transforming into a warrior of azure armor, appearing in the thousands to flood the battlefield. The Holy Puppet Sect, already on the defensive, found themselves under siege by these agile Dao warriors. Bai Fengyi, understanding the peril, struggled to maintain her resolve. However, she knew that if she and Yunni could delay their enemies long enough, the outcome of the battle on the main island could turn the tide in their favor. But Shui Han's smile deepened as he prepared to deal the final blow. On the horizon, the giant puppet from the Array Island stirred, its massive form wading through the sea to join the battle, and soon the battlefield was enveloped in chaos. Elsewhere, Han Li, observing from a distance with his bright-sight spirit eyes, realized the gravity of the situation. The Holy Puppet Sect is truly in peril, he remarked to Qilin 9, a somber expression crossing his face. With Qi Heng's order to abandon the Array Island and join the battle on the main island, they readied themselves to fly into the fray. But as they did, a thunderous rumble echoed from behind them. The giant puppets had begun their march toward the main island, and the fate of the Holy Puppet Sect hung precariously in the balance. On the plaza of the main island, battle raged between the Holy Puppet Sect and ubiquitous pavilion cultivators. The ground littered with bodies, while Bai Suyuan, cornered with only a few allies, steeled herself for the upcoming storm. Her jade bracelet gleamed with defensive power, and her face showed determination as she prepared for whatever came next. The fate of the battlefield seemed uncertain, and all eyes turned toward the coming clash that would decide everything. Chapter 292. Saved. Amid the chaotic battlefield, Bai Suyuan moved with lightning speed, her sword cutting through the air, unleashing a torrent of silver threads that dismembered 3 body integration cultivators before they could even react. The surrounding ubiquitous pavilion cultivators scrambled to defend against the onslaught, wary of drawing closer to her deadly barrage. Just as her sword flashed, a shadow darted through the sky. An inky black spear hurled toward her with the speed of a Grand Ascension cultivator. Bai Suyuan swiftly thrust her sword upward to parry the strike, But to her shock, the spear morphed into a liquid form, flowing down her blade, corroding it as it made its way toward her hand. Her sword fizzed and smoked under the corrosive liquid, forcing her to discard it and retreat. As she withdrew, a thick vine erupted from the ground, attempting to bind her in place. But Bai Suan was quick to summon a handkerchief adorned with moonlit patterns, which she waved to transform the vine into stone, crumbling it to dust with a flick of her wrist. The Grand Ascension cultivator halted, his eyes glinting with greed, while others stepped back, respecting the power of her treasures. Bai Suyuan's heart sank as she surveyed the battlefield. The Holy Puppet Sect was on the brink of collapse, with most of its forces either slain or gravely wounded. Desperation filled her as she activated a golden talisman, vanishing from the scene, but in a mere moment, she crashed into a light barrier that surrounded her, confused by the sudden turn of events. From the shadows, a one-eyed elder with scales on his face emerged, cackling as he revealed himself to be a true immortal. He claimed Bai Suyuan for his own, stirring fear among the ubiquitous pavilion cultivators, who withdrew in deference. With a sinister smile, the old man prepared to claim Bai Suyuan as his prize, his hand reaching for her. But just as he neared, a thunderous clap of lightning shook the heavens, and a golden sword descended from the sky, shattering the light barrier with ease, and sending shockwaves across the battlefield. In the blink of an eye, Han Li and Qilin 9 appeared, their true immortal presence making the one-eyed elder flee in fear. Bai Suyuan, now freed from the talisman's control, approached them gratefully. The ubiquitous pavilion cultivators dared not attack, but the azure-armored Dao warriors moved in with deadly intent. Han Li, undeterred, surrounded himself with a golden aura, striking out with powerful punches that shattered the Dao warriors in mere moments. As their bodies exploded in a storm of gore, Han Li's disappointment was evident. These warriors were nothing special, and he longed for more challenging opponents. The battlefield was far from over, as reinforcements continued to converge, threatening to overwhelm the Holy Puppet Sect. The clash raged on, and Han Li's golden fists tore through the enemy, but the situation remained dire. Chapter 293, Mystery Solved. A rumbling echoed as a towering puppet, nearing 10,000 feet in height, thundered through the battlefield, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. Its giant form, scarred and battered from a perilous journey, staggered into the plaza, and as the azure-armored Dao warriors swarmed it, the puppet's legs snapped with a deafening crack, sending it crashing to the ground. Its massive head rolled forward, wreaking havoc on the cultivators in its path, forcing them to scatter or suffer grievous injuries. Han Li, witnessing the chaos, soared into the sky with a sweeping gesture, sending out a burst of white light that halted the puppet's head in mid-roll. As it sank into the ground, he quickly examined the wreckage and found long dead bodies beneath the ruins, the former puppeteers of the Holy Puppet Sect. His sharp gaze spotted Qi Heng beneath the rubble, battered and near death from overexerting his powers. Han Li swiftly administered aid, feeding him a restorative pill before helping him regain some strength. Below, the battle on the main island seemed to near its end. The ubiquitous pavilion cultivators, with the assistance of the Dao warriors, had decimated the Holy Puppet Sect's forces, leaving them in disarray. As the conflict seemed on the verge of conclusion, a burst of yellow light erupted from the sky, sending shocks through the area. From the chaos, a white figure plummeted, followed by a blue figure that caught her mid-fall, Bai Fengyi and her Taoist puppet. Bai Fengyi, her heart heavy with the loss of her companion, exchanged a few words with Bai Suyuan, who had been saved by Han Li and Qilin 9. Han Li's thoughts deepened as Qi Heng, still struggling, contacted him through voice transmission. The two shared a tense moment, revealing the complexity of their past encounters. Qi Heng, once an enemy, had no resentment left after Han Li's unexpected aid, even admitting that their past confrontation was all a misunderstanding, with orders to abduct Bai Suyuan. As more revelations unfolded, Han Li's suspicions about Bai Suyuan's connection to the Holy Puppet Sect deepened. Just then, Bai Fengyi's words stirred a new urgency. With the ubiquitous pavilion on the cusp of victory, Bai Fengyi warned that if the battle were lost, she would activate a deadly array, sinking the Holy Puppet Sect's island to deny their enemies any spoils. In the midst of the turmoil, Lu Ji and Shui Han descended, the final battle nearing its dramatic conclusion. With both sides gathering their strongest fighters, the fate of the Holy Puppet Sect hung in the balance. Chapter 294, The Restricted Area and the Golden Immortal Puppet. The great Shui Han's voice rang across the island like a thunderclap, challenging the resolve of the transient guild, urging them to reconsider their devotion to a sect that was not their own. Bai Fengyi's heart sank, and the guild members exchanged uncertain glances, wondering if the promises of riches could truly outweigh the cost of their lives. Yun Ni, ever the schemer, offered them a doubled reward. Yet even her words could not dispel the fear of imminent death that gripped their hearts. As the tension mounted, a sudden eruption of white light shattered the stillness. Bai Fengyi's face paled as she realized that the restricted area had been breached. It was there that the Holy Puppet Sect's greatest treasure, a golden immortal puppet, was kept. This puppet, though incomplete, held the potential to reach the mid-golden immortal stage when merged with the sect master's essence. Yet its core was missing, rendering it dormant until the time of its awakening. With a flick of her wrist, Yun Ni directed the remaining forces to reinforce the restricted area, sending Han Li and others to aid in the defense. As they reached the valley, the land was torn asunder. Bodies littered the ground, and the once mighty defenses had crumbled. The Holy Puppet Sect was on the verge of collapse. Within the valley, an awe-inspiring scene unfolded. 8 pillars of white light spiraled into the sky, forming a vortex above the altar where the puppet lay in waiting. Meanwhile, battles raged around them. Ubiquitous pavilion cultivators clashing against the sect's defenders, each moment more brutal than the last. The Holy Puppet Sect was nearing its end, and with the golden immortal puppet on the verge of activation, the tides of fate were poised to shift. As Han Li moved swiftly through the chaos, a dying elder pointed towards the vortex, warning that someone had already entered the restricted area. With time running out, Han Li was dispatched to chase down the intruder, ensuring that no further threat could rise from within. As he departed, the remaining elders dove into the vortex, desperate to reclaim control of their sacred treasure. Yet, as Han Li flew away, a smile flickered across his face. A smile not born of victory, but of the anticipation of what was to come. Chapter 295, Great Universe Origin Arts. In the quiet stillness of the forest, Han Li landed lightly on a patch of empty earth, a glimmer of amusement dancing in his eyes. "You're quite a cunning fellow, aren't you?" he murmured, his gaze turning toward the massive tree several thousand feet away. It was there that the imposing figure of the burly, true immortal cultivator who had fled earlier emerged from the shadows. "Isn't it rather unwise for you to have pursued me here alone, fellow Taoist?" The burly figure chuckled, his fists tightening as loud cracks rang out from within his body, causing him to grow taller. Han Li smirked, taking a step back and adopting a casual fighting stance. "If I hadn't come alone, you probably wouldn't have revealed yourself so easily." The burly man lunged forward like a bolt of lightning, his punch hurtling through the air with a vicious force, 7 blue specks of starlight glowing on his chest and abdomen. His fist, now translucent like jade, left a visible ripple in the space around it. Han Li raised an eyebrow, golden scales forming over his arm. He met the blow with his own, a powerful punch that resonated through the air. A violent explosion of energy erupted, scattering trees and debris as the two combatants clashed. The burly figure was sent stumbling back, but Han Li stood firm, unyielding. "You're a profound immortal?" the burly man exclaimed in surprise, his voice tinged with disbelief. Han Li smiled, unbothered. Why so surprised? The burly figure, now realizing his opponent's strength, adopted a more cautious tone. "It seems I was careless. How about showing me your full strength?" Without waiting for a response, the burly man summoned more blue starlight across his body, now numbering 18 specks. Han Li did the same, revealing 7 points of starlight on his own form. "The Big Dipper Origin Arts," the burly man recognized with a shout. Their next exchange sent shockwaves through the forest, uprooting trees in a wide radius. The impact of their punches opened up a barren area, the two of them sliding back several thousand feet before halting. Hovering in midair, Han Li asked, "Shall we continue, fellow Taoist?" The burly figure, his body glowing with law fluctuations from a massive black wheel above him, sighed and lowered his fists. The starlight dimmed, his overbearing attitude now gone. "Who are you, and how did you come to possess the Big Dipper origin arts?" Hanli's smile never wavered. "Before I answer, tell me how you managed to open so many profound acupoints with the Big Dipper origin arts." The burly figure hesitated. "You wouldn't dare use a soul search on me, would you?" Hanli's gaze was sharp, his voice cold. "You already know how formidable my spiritual sense is." The burly figure, now known as Patriarch Coldflame, sighed. "Fine, I won't deceive you. The Big Dipper origin arts I learned came from a set of ruins. The full cultivation art, the Great Universe origin arts, I discovered after a near-death experience." He then handed Hanli a gray stone slab containing the cultivation art, offering it freely. Hanli inspected the stone slab, finding it incomplete. "The cultivation art is incomplete, isn't it?" he asked. Patriarch Coldflame nodded. "Yes, I only obtained half of it." After copying the contents of the stone slab onto a jade slip, Hanli tossed the jade slip to Patriarch Coldflame and advised him to leave the island, cautioning against the potential retaliation of the Holy Puppet Sect. Patriarch Coldflame, ever the shrewd one, nodded in agreement, stowing the jade slip and preparing to leave. Hanli turned to depart as well, but not before giving the Patriarch a meaningful glance. "Be careful with missions like these," Hanli remarked, his voice carrying a hint of warning. As Hanli flew away, Patriarch Coldflame sighed in relief, his fingers tightening around the jade slip. "That was too close. Why did I have to run into him?" With a shake of his head, he summoned his silver flying boat and departed, leaving the scene behind.